This ain't just a channel, this is BBTV.
It's Thankful Thursday, a pause in the chaos to notice what still holds up, keeps us going, or surprised us this week in the best way. Gratitude lives here. It's
A boss be rising, BBTV's igniting, turn the volume up. Yeah, the whole world's invited from the gravel road to the neon dream. She built an empire out of broken wings. Boss be rising, sky ain't even the ceiling when she hits go live. Everybody feels it.
All right. No, that's my Denzel, not my Matthew. Okay. Welcome in. Welcome back. Happy Thankful Thursday, because today's case is one of those situations where the title alone makes you stop scrolling and go, wait a minute, there's absolutely more to this than a popped balloon and a slice of cake. And if you are new here, this is Ask a Bee, which means we take one real Reddit AITA story, slow it all the way down, and we read it carefully. We pause when things get messy, and then we decide together whether the person who posted crossed a line or whether somebody else did, or even whether the whole situation spiraled into something nobody actually planned. And you know what? While I'm talking, I want you active in the chat, because this room works best when people are thinking out loud, calling honey or stinger. And those are opinion shifts, okay? Instead of waiting until the end, pretend they never wavered. And today's story is titled, okay? AITA, am I the a-hole for ruining my own gender reveal party? And that immediately raises about 20 questions. Yeah, my brain's going crazy already. Because ruining can mean very different things depending on who is telling the story. And my own party usually means expectations were high, emotions, they were loaded, family opinions were already in the room before anyone said hello, and somebody felt ignored long before the decorations went up. And since it is Thankful Thursday, I want you to keep this lens on while we go through it, because you know what? Gratitude does not cancel boundaries, and celebration does not automatically override discomfort. And sometimes the most honest moment in a room full of streamers, and I mean the ones up here, not the ones like me, is the one where somebody finally admits they are overwhelmed instead of smiling through it. So before we even read the first line of this post, I want you thinking about what would make you walk out of your own gender reveal party, whether it is relatives hijacking the guest list, surprise elements, you specifically said you did not want cameras shoved in your face at the worst possible second, pressure to perform, excitement when you're scared, exhausted, or hormonal, or the feeling that the event, it stopped being about you and started being about everybody else's expectations. Because I promise you, by the time we get to the end of this one, half of you are going to say the poster stood up for themselves, and the other half are going to say there were 5 better ways to handle it. And that is exactly why these Thankful Thursday cases are so interesting to me, because they sit right in that uncomfortable space between appreciation and autonomy, right? Where people are supposed to be grateful for the effort, but still allowed to say something is not okay. And that line is thinner than folks like to admit. So go ahead right now in the chat, before we read anything, your early instinct, just by the title, honey or stinger, just the title, okay? The title alone. Tell me what side you are leaning towards and what you personally would make you snap, right? At your own party, because once we start reading details, everybody always changes their mind at least once. And that is the fun part around here, okay? Because audio check, video check, chat moving. Let's get into today's Ask a Bee Thankful Thursday case. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. I can tell already. I'm going for, that's where I'm starting. All right, so let's get it here. And I shall move to the side. Thank you. Am I the a-hole for ruining my own gender reveal party? Let that sink in. I am pregnant with a baby boy due in November. My fiance and I didn't care much about the gender of our child, so we didn't make too much noise about it once we found out. Okay, I can see that. No problem. The only people we'd informed were our parents, their partners, and our siblings. Okay. Prior to this, my father's girlfriend of 3 years had been asking me about my plans for a gender reveal party. I've always been clear about not wanting one. When I announced my son's gender to them, she expressed disappointment that I hadn't changed my mind about a party. I don't like gender reveals. Never have, never will. I'm with you, honey, because, I mean, come on, just tell me. I prefer baby showers, ditto, which I think feel more about the actual child. Yes, I never tried to hide that opinion either. Absolutely. Okay, right away. I'm clocking that the poster and her fiance were consistent from the start because, they didn't hype the gender, they didn't tease a party, and they only told immediate family, which means nobody can reasonably say they were misled into expecting some big reveal later, right? I would think so. I mean, that sounds a bit too much to me if you ask me. Nobody's asking me, obviously, but anyway, here we go. Number 2 part. All right. Days later, my father's girlfriend, Ruh-roh, invited me over for tea in their apartment. That's uncomfortable. My dad was out of town. When I got there, about a dozen people popped out of hiding to surprise me. No, you didn't. Oh, poop. There were pink and blue decorations everywhere, which made what was going on pretty clear. As I stood there in shock, my father's girlfriend excitedly told me they were throwing me a surprise gender reveal party. Is it too early for a drink, y'all? Since I'd already told her she had taken it upon herself to order a cake with colorful frosting, decorate the apartment, and invite a bunch of people over. The guests included her mother, whom I don't get along with. Wait, your mother-in-law's mother? Wait. Okay. Some of her friends, my mother-in-law, not my mom, and 4 of my friends. As I later found out, my mother-in-law and friends had been told I'd changed my mind about gender reveals. Uh-oh. Okay, now we've crossed out of awkward and into problem territory, I think, because inviting someone over for tea when their partner is out of town and then springing a dozen people out of hiding is not a neutral misunderstanding. That is a coordinated ambush, especially when the entire theme of the surprise is the one thing the pregnant person already said they did not want. Come on. The pink and blue decorations make it crystal clear that this wasn't some spontaneous idea that got out of hand, right? This took planning, ordering a custom cake, decorating the apartment, curating a guest list, which means there were multiple points where the father's girlfriend could have stopped and said, maybe I shouldn't do the exact opposite of what she asked. And instead, she doubles down. And I also do not love that the guest list was centered on the poster's closest people. Because including her own mother-in-law instead of the poster's mom, I don't understand that at all. Plus 4 friends and the girlfriend's mother who the poster already doesn't get along with makes it feel like less like a celebration built for the pregnant person and more like a production put on for the girlfriend's social circle. And at this point, I'm going to be honest, okay? That reads as something prioritized, or someone prioritizing their own excitement and vision over the comfort of the person carrying the baby, which is, okay, that's not how surprise parties are supposed to work. It makes the disappointment from earlier feel a lot less innocent in hindsight, okay? And a lot more like foreshadowing. Who's being celebrated here for real? Sounds like somebody wanted credit for a really great party. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments, would you? And hit that like button, pretty please. And if you have not subscribed, I wish you would do so, because this is an everyday thing. Also, I have a really great team that I work with. Y'all should go over there and see them too. Iron Sharpening Iron Universe. You should be there. You seriously should be there. We have so much going on. All right, y'all. Wait a minute. That's not the right one. Nope. What is going on? You know what? I thought I had these settled. I could have swore I had these settled. Oh, well. Let's just read. As I later found out, my mother-in-law and friends had been told I'd changed my mind about gender reveals. I had not. Still in the doorway, I looked over at everyone and said, uh-oh, it's a boy. You guys can go home now. And then I left without looking back. Hours later, my father calls me furious that I'd ruined the party. He said his girlfriend had put a lot of effort, money, and love into planning it, and I should have shown respect and gratitude for it. Oh, Lordy, Daddy, you need to grow up. Apparently, she hadn't stopped crying since I left. It's been almost a week, and they're both still upset, even after I explained I never wanted that party in the first place. They're insisting I could have sucked it up for an hour, or at least cut the cake. Am I the a-hole? All right. Now we're in the part where everybody's instincts start firing at once, right? Because this is where the poster actually acts. And I want to slow this down without pretending the setup wasn't already loaded. Okay. Because yes, walking in and immediately saying it's a boy, you guys can go home now, before leaving. Okay, it's blunt. I might have done the same thing had I been pushed to that point with the hormones just brewing. But there is no sugarcoating that. Okay, that is a hard exit, and it probably stunned the whole room. I'm stunned. Wow. Not blunt does not automatically equal wrong. Okay, when somebody has just been tricked into the exact situation they explicitly declined, and the detail that really shifts this for me is the mother-in-law and friends who were told she had changed her mind, because that means the girlfriends didn't just misinterpret anything. She actively rewrote the poster's wishes to recruit an audience. And that matters, okay? When we're talking about responsibility, and then the father calling furious and reframing this as effort, money, love, and respect is, okay, that's classic outcome-based guilt. Where the focus suddenly becomes, okay, how much work went into the thing instead of whether the thing should have happened at all. because effort does not override consent, and you don't earn gratitude for bulldozing a boundary just because you wrapped it in frosting and balloons. The crying for hours afterwards does not magically turn the girlfriend into the victim when she engineered the entire situation from start to finish, right? And the insistence that she should have sucked it up for an hour or cut the cake is basically admitting they know it wasn't what she wanted. But I mean, think public discomfort matters, okay? It matters more than her autonomy. So at this point, if we are answering the actual AITA question based on what we have, I'm landing on no. You get honey, sweetie. You tried. And I don't care how you did it. You did it and probably have more balls than some women, right? Because the party only existed because someone ignored her clearly stated wishes and lied to other guests and her friends. It was a reaction to being cornered, not a tantrum thrown over a misunderstanding. This woman needs a life, and she needs to leave somebody else's alone. It sounds to me like she doesn't have a life, so she doesn't have anything to do. So here, let me mess with yours. Right? All right. Y'all tell me in the comments. Hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. More coming. Okay. So I found some comments, of course, because, everybody else's opinion matters here too. Oh, I look like a mess. Y'all forgive me. I don't feel good today. Okay. So commenter number 1, NTA, not the a-hole. This smacks of her trying to prove that she cares about you more than your mom, especially seeing as how either your mom wasn't invited or she turned down the invitation to respect your wishes. I would go with the latter. She doesn't seem to get that the way to prove she cares about you at all is to actually listen to what you want and don't want. That's a good observation. Okay, so the original poster responded, I asked my mom. She confirmed she wasn't invited. Oh, fish. No. Bitch. Come on. Really? Her own mom? Okay, according to my father's girlfriend, she didn't have her number. Please. That's probably true, but I have no idea how she could have gotten my mother-in-law's number. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop that right there. How come she has your girlfriend's number and not your mother's number, huh? I think the real reason is that she knew my mom wouldn't back her up. Well, duh. Had my mother been invited, she wouldn't have told me everything. She knows I wouldn't want a gender reveal. Well, there you go. Okay. Mom knows. This update makes the whole thing look a lot less accidental. Seriously, because the commenter suggesting that the girlfriend was trying to outposition the poster's actual mom suddenly makes sense once, the original posters confirmed that her mother was never invited. Oh, especially when the excuse is that she didn't have her number. Are you kidding me? Are you really kidding me? Even though she somehow managed to contact the mother-in-law and several friends. Are you kidding me? Which tells me this, okay? This wasn't about access. It's about control. And the original poster's follow-up that her mom would have warned her and shut the party down if she had known is the most revealing part. Because that suggests guest lists and carefully curated to avoid anyone who challenged the plan. And when you stack that on top of the earlier boundary pushing and the lie about her changing her mind, it stops looking like enthusiasm and starts looking like orchestration. My opinion, I'm not professional, but come on. And at that point, the girlfriend crying afterward reads less like heartbreak and more like the fallout of a scheme that didn't land. Seriously. All right, another commenter number 2. There was cake. I mean, yeah, there was cake. It was a party. You could have deliberately, misunderstood and said, "Thank you for the baby shower for my baby boy," and then stayed for the cake. Really? Come on. Then you could have also, in between bites of cake, acted all confused to the guest and said, "I'm so glad she respected my wishes on not having a gender reveal party and threw me a shower like I preferred," and then went and got another slice of cake. Shake my head. Missed opportunity to have your cake and eat it too. Okay. I'm glad you responded to this original poster. Wouldn't have worked the moment they all yelled surprise. She said it was a gender reveal. The decorations also made it obvious. My fiance did get me cake after all this, so I didn't really miss out on that. Well, good for him. I like your fiance. I do. Absolutely. This comment is trying to be clever, but I don't actually buy the premise, okay? Because it assumes that the original poster had time and emotional space to reform sarcasm in front of a dozen people who had just been assembled under false pretenses. And the original poster's response shuts that down pretty cleanly by pointing out that, the girlfriend immediately announced it was a gender reveal and the decorations made the theme unmistakable, which, come on, that means there was no plausible deniability to exploit, okay? And honestly, expecting a pregnant person who just realized she's been tricked to stay and stage a passive-aggressive comedy routine while eating cake is a weird standard to hold her to, okay? Especially when she didn't ask for the party in the first place. And the fact that her fiance later made sure she still got cake is almost beside the point, because the real issue it wasn't dessert, okay? It was consent and being put on display after saying no. That was the problem. Plain and simple. All right, we got another comment here. Is your dad's girlfriend infertile? Does she have kids? I mean, I don't know about the infertile part, but I would wonder if she had kids. The original poster responded, and that's why I took this one. She doesn't have kids, but I have no idea whether she's infertile. Yeah, I bet she doesn't have kids. That's just the point I wanted to make. So that commenter is reaching, because speculating about someone's fertility is not relevant to whether they ignored a boundary and staged a party anyway, okay? And again, the OP's reply is appropriately neutral, since she doesn't actually know that woman's medical history, which is exactly how that should stay, because you don't need a tragic backstory to explain why someone overstepped. You just have to acknowledge that they did, right? All right, comment 4. I mean, I guess I don't blame you, but it sucks for the other people who just showed up for a party that they thought you wanted and got ditched. Your mother-in-law and friends didn't do anything wrong, and they got punished too. Okay, original poster. First off, I'm sorry, but if the friends knew about it, how come they didn't tell her? Is that a real friend? Go figure. Original poster says, I talked to them afterwards to clear things up. They were all confused and upset on my behalf. I made it clear I understood they had been lied to. Yeah, but still, your friends, you talk to your friends. If you think otherwise and somebody other than your friend does not tell you that it's different, then you should probably ask your friend, right? I understood that they had been lied to, and it hadn't been my intention to put them in that position. We all apologized to each other. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear you're good with your friends. This is a fair point about the innocent guest, I suppose. But the OP's response actually handles that part well too. Better than I did, obviously, because she didn't double down or pretend they deserved it, right? She went back afterward, explained what happened, acknowledged they'd been lied to, and made sure nobody walked away thinking she was mad at them. Good girl. I like this. I like this poster. I'm talking honey all the way through. And I know this one's an older story, so I hope you and your child and your family are much better now. So, which is exactly what accountability looks like when you're not trying to scorch the whole room, and it shifts even more responsibility back onto the person who created the setup in the first place. Yeah. So, all right, let's see here. I think I had one more comment here. It was a longer one. So, comment says, your actions were a reflection of how you feel about the girlfriend. Okay, not at all about spending time with people who love and respect you and are looking forward to your little one's arrival. Oh, I don't agree. So, the original poster says, if she wants to get together, she can throw a party. She does not need to make that about my child's gender, especially after I told her not to. My friends and mother-in-law did indeed think they'd come for me, and I spoke to them afterwards, but I will not buy that her mother and friends were there because they cared about me. I don't either. You're not the only one assuming I don't like my father's girlfriend. Yeah, that is not true. But when I tell someone I don't want something multiple times, yeah, and they go and do it anyway, I don't have to stick around. And no, this was not about the hormones. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. She overstepped her boundaries. I mean, that's obvious, right? This is, I guess, the commenter trying to reframe the original poster's reaction as personal dislike instead of situational boundary setting, which is silly to me. And the OP pushes back in a way I actually respect because, you know what, she makes it clear that this wasn't about hating the girlfriend or being ungrateful for people showing up. It was about someone deliberately centering the party on the one thing she had already declined multiple times. And I also like that she separates the innocent guests from the girlfriend's own circle instead of lumping everyone together. Oh, sorry. Stop, Otto. And the line about not blaming it on hormones matters too, because that shuts down a lazy stereotype and brings it back to the real issue, which is that saying no should mean no, even when cake and balloons are involved, right? All right, it looks like we have to have a potty break because my dog is dark. So I'm going to bring up some Bee Ninja because we do have another Bee Ninja for today, and we do have another ninja to involve here too. So here we go.
Some damage announces itself with splintered wood and broken nests, but other harm travels in invisible currents that leave no debris behind, moving through pressure and frequency and instinct until entire migration patterns begin to unravel. And tonight's case begins far from porches and sidewalks, where human equipment started speaking too loudly, in a place animals have relied on silence to survive.
Before we start talking about coastlines and shipping lanes and sonar devices, I want to rewind to something Walt said back in episode 2. Because a few of you noticed he mentioned antenna upgrades and then stopped mid-sentence. And that wasn't hesitation or oversight. That was the moment the first test results came back and pointed somewhere none of us were ready to describe out loud.
The system didn't malfunction, it performed better than expected, and what surprised me wasn't the sensitivity but the direction of the earliest spikes. Because they weren't coming from cities or storms or heavy maritime traffic. They were harmonics rising from protected marine corridors where nothing louder than a trawler engine should have been operating. Harmonics from the corridors? Which is another way of saying somebody installed serious hardware in water they assumed nobody was paying close attention to. The kind of equipment you only move quietly when you already know you're not supposed to be using it there.
Those frequencies were strong enough to register across Walt's array, then the biological impact would present as neurological injury rather than blunt trauma. Disorientation, vascular rupture in soft tissue, and collapse of echolocation systems that marine mammals depend on to navigate and feed, all of which line up with the preliminary stranding reports we've been reviewing. So the reason that technology conversation went vague back then, I heard, was people testing the edges of environmental law while hoping the ocean itself would swallow the evidence.
Instrumentation has a way of making very old secrets suddenly measurable. Let's stop circling it and call the hardware what it is. Fishermen don't carry beam-forming acoustic deterrents with that kind of range unless they're trying to clear more than nets. Directional pulse arrays, narrow frequency windows, timed activations designed to avoid commercial monitoring buoys. Understood. While still flooding reef systems with enough pressure to drive sensitive species away from specific coordinates.
Which places them firmly in the category of prohibited devices inside sanctuary waters. And that brings us to the voice that interrupted Walt's system before any of us finished connecting those dots. I didn't interrupt it, I synchronized with it, because dolphins experience pressure gradients long before satellites catch surface disturbance, and your network was close to capturing what was happening below, but not yet tuned to the layers where biological harm shows up first.
And before we go any further, you should probably explain who you are and why you felt comfortable modifying equipment that doesn't belong to you.
Patty friend, Gulf Corridor Monitoring. I felt comfortable because I've been charting abnormal vessel movement for 8 weeks. While watching pods abandon reef systems in patterns that only make sense if someone is building sound walls beneath protected waters. What exactly did you Rotating acoustic fences activated in arcs that push marine life out without leaving residue on the surface. Paired with ships that cycle hull numbers and insurance registries while maintaining identical activation schedules.
Smuggling routes dressed up as something else.
Or field trials designed to measure how much ecosystem disruption can occur before regulators take notice. Which puts tonight's question exactly where it always lands in these cases, because complexity doesn't excuse injury and new technology doesn't come with a grace period when animals are being used as unwilling test subjects. So what we're really asking is whether the people behind those frequencies are prepared to take responsibility now that someone finally bothered to listen closely enough.
And whether they'd rather explain themselves to us first or to agencies that don't negotiate. I can extend the antenna array across the continental shelf and keep those pulse windows from hiding inside blind spots.
And I can continue shadowing the vessels that light up every time a reef goes quiet. I'll coordinate with marine veterinarians and coastal authorities to document injuries while the evidence is still fresh.
And I'll find out who keeps paying premiums on ships that keep changing names. When systems begin working together, secrecy tends to lose its footing.
Which brings us to the only decision point that ever matters in cases like this. Because harm has already occurred and ecosystems do not reset simply because someone regrets the optics. So the people behind those sound waves can either cooperate while that option still exists or wait until Bee Ninja introduces them to what accountability sounds like.
Honey or stinger, choose carefully.
This ain't just a channel, this is BBTV. She came from the quiet storms, built a fire from the ground, turned a whisper to a warning. Now her voice shakes the town. Every setback was a lesson, every doubt became a key, unlocking something bigger. That's the rise of Boss B. When the lights go low, her vision hits high. She built a whole damn network off a promise and a try. Every sunrise, every moment, she's stacking legacy. This ain't just a channel, this is BBTV. Boss B rising, BBTV's igniting. Turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel road to the neon dream, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss B rising, sky ain't even the ceiling. When she hits go live, everybody feels it. She's the queen of the comeback, the storm in the stream, crafting stories out of heartbeats, making visions out of dreams. Got thunder in the hustle, got a voice that cuts clean. Every mic she touches turns the power unseen. So let brother spin the numbers, let the views rise slow or fast. Boss B doesn't measure wins by echoes of the past. This moment is a pivot, this season's history. Bow down to the founder of the BBTV dynasty. Boss B rising, BBTV's igniting. Turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel roads to the neon dream, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss B rising, sky ain't even the ceiling. When she hits go live, everybody feels it. She's got fire in the head, it's got truth in the frame, got a heart that won't retire and a gift you can't name. Every loop, every letter, every dream she sets free, it's a love note to the world sign. Boss B. And the world keeps watching as the numbers climb, but she's counting all the moments, not the dollar signs. From the late night grind to the daylight scene, she's building something bigger than the algorithm's dream. Boss B rising, BBTV shining, her story's rewriting, a legacy in real time. Boss B rising, BBTV's igniting. Turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel roads to the neon dreams, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss B rising, sky ain't even the ceiling. When she hits go live, everybody feels it. BBTV, where the stories breathe. BBTV, where the dreamers believe. Boss B rising, watch her take her place. This is BBTV, this is her grace.
Join Boss B for Ask a Bee Monday through Friday, 12 noon Central Standard Time and Jukebox Journey every Saturday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time.
All right, y'all. Oh, pardon me. I got that hiccups for some silly reason. All right, we have an update. We have an update. We're going to get into it. You know how we do. Here we go. I don't see nobody talking in the comments yet. What y'all thinking? Y'all need to let me know. I know there's a couple in here that's been here for a minute. All right, update number 1. Because, yes, there are 2. 2 weeks later. Just 2 weeks. Thank you for all your replies, especially those who called me the a-hole. For having a gender or not having a gender reveal, whatever. I'm assuming you didn't read my post, but you still cracked me up. All jokes aside, I've been expected to be a pushover for most of my life. Older daughter of divorced parents. Yeah, I feel that. So it was good to know I was right to stand my ground on this issue. After reading your comments, I've concluded that the only thing I did wrong was leaving without talking to my friends and mother-in-law. Agreed. They were lied to and put in an awkward position after I left. Yeah. I did talk to them the next day and apologized, but I wish I'd told them what was going on. I do too. I agree. I think that's probably the best thing you could have done was say, hey, do you understand what's going on? Because I sure don't. And, this update, it actually makes the original poster look more thoughtful, not less. Because instead of digging in and pretending every single part of her reaction was flawless, she reflects on it, okay? And admits that the one place she could have handled better, okay, was how abruptly she left the innocent guest without explaining what was going on. And that kind of, this stupid dog, that kind of, hold on, get up here already, you big old mutt. Oh my God. He's about 95 pounds, y'all. Sorry. So, y'all stop. Stop, Mel, please. Can you get off me? Thank you. Oh my God, the life of the bee. And okay, that kind of self-audit matters to me. Okay, especially when she connects it to being the older child in a divorced family who has or who was often expected to smooth things over. Because that tells me she's aware of her own patterns, right? And not just blaming everyone else for the entire mess. And I also like that she isn't rewriting history, okay, about why she was upset in the first place. And she still stands by her boundary. She just recognizes that the friends and mother-in-law didn't deserve to be collateral damage in a fight that they didn't start, right? Which is a pretty balanced place to land, and honestly, it strengthens her credibility more than it weakens it, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, there's more. Would you lay down, dog? All right, so a few days ago, my fiance and I invited my father and his girlfriend over. I told them that I was extremely upset with them both, but I wanted to sort this out peacefully. Good. See, still more honey. We still ended up fighting. Well, of course you did. My father agreed with some points I made, but kept insisting that I was ungrateful and owed his girlfriend an apology. No, she don't. No, she don't. No. No, thank you. Drive through. No, she doesn't deserve that. She explicitly said, don't do that. And she did it anyway. And she ambushed her. It wasn't a surprise. It was an ambush. Get that straight. She was quiet at first, but started crying about 20 minutes into the fight. My father's girlfriend said she threw the party because she cared about me. No, she didn't. No, she didn't. That was because she cared about her own image, not you. Oh, I've got to be the good girlfriend. Maybe he'll ask me to marry him and I'll have to be her mother and I got to look good. No. Sorry, not sorry. I'm getting a little heated on this one. Okay, so that she wanted one if she was pregnant. She started talking about all the gender reveal videos she'd watched on TikTok and how happy the parents look in them. She told me she genuinely thought I'd love it and couldn't understand why I'd been so rude to her. Because no means no, bish. Okay, this meeting is where the whole conflict crystallizes for me, okay? Because on the surface, it sounds like they came to talk it out. But the father immediately anchoring on gratitude and demanding an apology instead of leading with accountability tells me the power dynamic, it hasn't actually shifted at all. The girlfriend crying 20 minutes in, okay, combined with framing the party as something she would want if she were pregnant, is a classic perspective swap move. Okay, come on. Where someone replaces your stated wishes with their own imagined version of what you should have liked. And the TikTok gender reveal explanation honestly makes that even clearer. How old is she? Because she isn't describing something tailored to the original poster. She's describing something she personally finds heartwarming online and decided must therefore apply in real life. And the repeated, I thought you would love it. I don't understand why you were rude. Okay, skips right over the core issue, which is that she was told directly more than once that this exact thing was not wanted. She didn't want it. So at this point, the conflict is no longer about surprise parties or tone at the door. It's about whether adults are allowed to override a pregnant person's boundaries because they believe their intentions were good. For me, that argument just doesn't hold water. Hope she's still holding hers after all this stress. Woo! Yes, that was a stupid joke. I know. I don't want to hear it. So, to my surprise, my fiance was the first to snap at that. He's usually the calm one. Okay, that's a good thing, though. He told her to stop calling it my party since she clearly threw it for herself. Ooh, yay! I had expressed countless times that I didn't want a gender reveal, and I was well within my rights to leave when she tried to ambush me with one. Let's hear it for the fiance. The fight didn't go on for much longer than that. Near its end, my father asked me why I hadn't at least played along for a while. Really? Really? You want her to play along with a lie? Okay, I told him I went there expecting to spend an hour with someone I've been meaning to get to know better, not to spend my entire afternoon entertaining a dozen people, more than of whom I either didn't know or didn't like, who got together to talk about my child's privates. Okay, if you want to put it that way. I didn't mean to upset anyone, but I had to get out. My father didn't argue with that. Well, that good for him. It's about time. This is the moment the conversation finally gets grounded in reality because the fiance calling it out as a party thrown for the girlfriend instead for the pregnant person cuts straight through at the emotional fog, right? And I actually love that he reframes the whole issue away from intentions and back onto impact and consent. Because saying I did it because I care doesn't undo the fact that she ignored repeated no's. And the original poster explaining to her father that she showed up expecting a quiet visit and instead got dropped into an afternoon-long performance for strangers is exactly the kind of boundaries articulation that people usually struggle to express in the moment. And the line about not wanting to spend hours with people she didn't know or like discussing her child's body may be blunt, but it is also completely fair because that is an intensely personal thing to be ambushed with. And the fact that her father doesn't argue that point tells me he finally understands at least that part of it, what went wrong, right? Which makes this feel like the first real crack in the resistance rather than another round of guilt tripping, which that happens, right? Of course it does. We have another update. So, or still more, pardon me. There were two main pieces of advice from your comments that I decided to follow. The first was to tell my father's girlfriend she needed to apologize to my friends and mother-in-law for lying to them. Amen. Good on you. She agreed, and they later confirmed that she did. Well, there you go. That's awesome. That's good news, right? Okay. Secondly, neither of them will be allowed to meet my son at the hospital when he's born. That's a little harsh. My father had been looking forward to this, so it wasn't an easy decision, but I made it clear it was final. My father called me the next day to apologize for everything, and I forgave him. Okay. I don't expect an apology from his girlfriend, but you should have one. But I'm done feeding that fire. My life is stressful enough as it is. My son will be here in November. He already has a name, and we've just started working on his nursery. I truly can't wait to meet him. Aw, I hope y'all are living a really happy life right now. Also, sorry for including 4 twice in my first post title. Editor note, fix that here. Okay, silliness. This is honestly the healthiest ending this story could have had, if you ask me, because instead of escalating the drama or cutting people off permanently, the original poster picked 2 very specific consequences that actually matched the behavior. Making the girlfriend clean up the mess she made with the friends and mother-in-law and drawing a firm boundary around hospital access so that the birth doesn't turn into another stage for someone else's feelings. I agree. And I especially respect that, she didn't weaponize that boundary. She just stated it clearly and stuck to it, even though she knew it would disappoint her father. And the fact that he came back the next day and apologized, that tells me that line finally landed where the earlier arguments didn't, right? And also, like that she isn't chasing an apology from the girlfriend. That's my favorite part. She doesn't need to. If it happens, it happens. And you know what? You can't rush it. You can't push it. She's just not that type of person, obviously. But you know what? Sometimes peace comes from deciding you are done litigating a situation rather than waiting for someone else to suddenly grow insight. And the way she ends talking about her son's name and nursery is exactly what Thankful Thursday energy is supposed to look like. Refocusing on the life she's about to welcome instead of, the people who tried to hijack the spotlight. I mean, come on. Why? This is her special moment. She's been waiting her whole life for this moment, So is her husband, I'm sure. So, yeah. I do have a few comments out here. Let's see. All right. Comment number 1. Gender reveals are still a cringe. I don't know about cringe, but yeah, I don't like them that much. And always will be. The original poster says, meh. There are dozens of reasons I dislike gender reveals, but I don't think that's one of them. I do agree with it, though, but I like plenty of cringe stuff, so that wouldn't be enough for me to dislike something. Okay. I think she was just trying to answer that one. I think they're keeping it broad and a little dismissive, but the original poster's response is actually pretty reasonable because she isn't attacking people who enjoy gender reveals, okay, or pretending they're universally bad. She just says she has her own reasons for disliking them and even admits she enjoys plenty of hush mo things other people might find cringe, right? Which makes her come off self-aware instead of judgmental. And it keeps the focus where it belongs, on personal boundaries, not cultural taste, right? All right, another comment here. Does your dad and his girlfriend have a large age gap? It's what I was wondering that myself. That's why I said, how old is she? She just revealed that she wants kids, right? Oh, yeah. Original poster says they're 16 years apart, I think. Yeah. Yeah, there it is. Listen, not to tell my business, but poor friend, like Walt says, I am the oldest of 6. I've told this before. Okay. My first stepmother was just a little bit younger than my own mother, right? My mother and father were married years ago and divorced when I was 4. My father's third or second marriage came with a boy and 2 girls. I love my siblings, okay? Not going there. Not saying anything wrong here, so don't try and twist it. His next marriage, and this is okay, all right? She was only 3 years older than me. She had 2 children after I'd had 3. So these are my sisters that are younger than my own children, and I love them dearly. They just graduated from high school. One has autism, or not high school, pardon me, college. One has autism, and she is a music major, and she graduated Sigma Cum Laude. So I'm a very proud sister. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. I love my dad. No judgment there, okay? But it's a different dynamic. It really is when somebody is younger, okay? And I know this because of being the older child. There were sometimes, we were close in age, so she would call me for advice and stuff. So it's a different dynamic, right? And it sounds to me like she's looking for a friend here, not a stepchild. So that question about age gaps and baby fever might explain some of the girlfriend's emotional investment there, I think. But it still doesn't excuse steamrolling someone else's pregnancy plans, because wanting kids or watching TikToks about parenthood doesn't magically give you permission to override the actual parent's decision. So at most, it adds context, not justification. All right. One more here. Maybe more. Okay. For the sake of mental health, do not tell anyone the names you have chosen. Okay. Mental health. I mean, your own. Yeah, I suppose. The original poster says, oh, we're not saying anything until birth. The only people who know besides us are my best friend, who will be my son's godmother, and her husband. That sounds like a good deal to me. You go, girl. Seriously, control that. So I don't think they're giving, practical survival advice, and the OP clearly took it to heart, because keeping the baby's name private until birth is one of the easiest ways to avoid a whole new round of unsolicited opinions. And I'm okay with that. I'm so okay with that. And the fact that she limited it to the people she truly trusts shows she's learned from the chaos, of the situation. And it is actively protecting her peace going forward. I see nothing wrong with that. Seriously. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. All righty. So there was another update for 7 months. And I've already got it up there some reason. No. Okay. Hey, everyone. It's been a while, obviously, 7 months later. Hope it's okay for me to update here. I remember promising myself I'd make a final post as soon as the dust had settled. And I'm pretty sure the time has come. Yay. First of all, I'm a mom. Yay. Yay. My son was born in November and he turned 3 months old a little over a week ago. Oh, God bless you, honey. He's beautiful and perfect, and I still can't believe he's here. Oh, I bet he is. I'd love to see. I love the babies. Can't help it. Secondly, I have some updates on my father and his girlfriend. Uh-oh. Most importantly, they broke up last month. Thank you. Thank you so much. Turns out they were cheating on each other. Oh my God. I don't know much about this that isn't gossip. I can't confirm, but I did have some minor problems with her after my last post. This update is doing two things at once, okay? Because on one hand, it's sweet and grounding to hear that the baby arrived safely and the OP is happy and focused on motherhood now, which is really the part of the story that actually matters long term, right? And on the other hand, the breakup between the father and his girlfriend doesn't feel shocking, given how much tension and boundary blindness we already saw, even if the cheating details are mostly rumor. So it reads less like a plot twist and more like a natural unraveling of relationship that was already cracking under pressure, right? That's crazy. Too crazy. Okay, about a week after the conversation I mentioned in my previous update, she became fixated on trying to find out my son's name. Wow. According to her, there was a personalized gift she wanted to get me that would need it. Oh my God. Are you sure there's not a 36 year gap? That's so freaking childish, y'all. She spent 3 weeks asking around about it before giving up. I didn't invite my father's girlfriend to my baby shower. Almost definitely a dork move, but I didn't want her there. Okay. I don't blame you at all. I don't. She was still on her name crusade at the time. Okay. And it was becoming exhausting to deal with. My mother was the one who threw it. Okay. So it didn't make sense for her to be there anyway. My fiance and I had dinner with her and my father instead, which did end up being nice. She gave us diapers instead of the personalized gift, which is probably the best thing. And it was quite honestly the best thing she could have gotten me. See? Nothing happened when I went into labor, at least not at the end. I introduced my son to my father through video chat. He kept his part of the deal and didn't visit us. But I later found out his girlfriend did try to convince him to. Oh, this part honestly reinforces why the original poster drew firmer boundaries. Wow. Because you know what? The girlfriend turning the baby's name into a 3-week campaign and then getting excluded from the shower isn't petty to me so much as self-protective, especially when the OP admits it wasn't the politest move. but still chooses her own sanity. You go, girl. I would have too. And I also appreciate that the compromise dinner, right, with the father and the girlfriend went smoothly. It needed to. And that the diapers ended up being far more useful than some engraved keepsake. Plus the fact that nothing dramatic happened during labor and the father respected the hospital boundaries. That matters a lot. Even if the girlfriend trying to pressure him behind the scenes shows she hadn't really stopped pushing yet. I mean, that's terrible. So, a couple of comments, I believe here, or not comments, a little bit more to this update. They came over to meet the baby a bit over a week later. Okay. Her mother was visiting them at the time, and I allowed her to join us despite the fact I never got along with her. There she goes being a pushover again. Awful decision. Of course it was. She complained the whole visit. Also, according to her, I had it easy because of my C-section. What? Mm-mm. No, I've had one and I'm not going with that. No. It took me 2 months to get back up from that. And I was trying to be a mother to a newborn. No. So she felt the need to tell me her whole birth story. Joke's on her. My kid can kill Macbeth. All jokes aside, my father was particularly upset about this. He told me he had a huge argument with his girlfriend afterwards because her mother ruined his first time meeting his first grandchild. Alrighty. The holidays went fine. The breakup happened early in January. Again, I don't know much about that. Okay. This section just adds another layer to why that relationship was already on borrowed time, because the girlfriend's mother turning the visit into a complaint marathon and minimizing a C-section is wildly inappropriate. And I probably would have slapped her myself. Sorry, I'm not a violent person, but that's just wrong. And that crap hurts, okay? The original poster's Little Macbeth joke is honestly a classy way to cope with something that was probably exhausting in real life. And what really stands out is that even the father was furious afterwards and recognized that his first moment with his granddaughter had been spoiled. Good for him. Which tells me the girlfriend side of the family kept creating friction everywhere they went. So by the time the breakup happens in January, it feels less like sudden drama and more like the final crack in something that had been under strain for months, right? All right, last one here. A few days later, I found out my father's ex-girlfriend texted me. She apologized for whatever stress she had put me through during my pregnancy. We wished each other well. I'm sure both she and my father will start dating their affair partners now. Probably. If I learned anything these last few months, it's that my family is a forking mess. And I forgot to pull that out of there. Forgive me. But I didn't say it, did I? No F-bombs here. Moving forward, I'll do my best to protect my child from this. I still have over a year until my wedding, so we'll enjoy our time away from the spotlight while it lasts. This will be my last post. Thanks, everyone. All right. Okay. This is actually a surprisingly calm way to close out a story that was chaotic from the start, obviously, because instead of dragging the breakup or turning it into a victory lap, the original poster accepts the apology, wishes the ex well, and immediately shifts her focus back to protecting her child, as she should, and keeping her own peace. You know, that's the most important part. And that's exactly the emotional maturity people hope to reach after months of family drama. The blunt honesty about her family being a mess feels less bitter and more resolved. Like someone who finally decided where her boundaries live and isn't interested in reopening that door. So, as endings go, this one lands steady rather than explosive, I think. And beautifully so, you know? I think it's pretty good. It's good. It's good. It's good. Not what they say. All right, so Texas weather sucks, y'all. Let me tell you. So, yeah, here I'm gonna pull this down now. After walking all the way through this one, okay, from start to finish, I'm planting my flag right here because this was never about balloons or cake or TikTok trends. It was about boundaries, honesty, and whether adults are willing to hear the word no when it doesn't match the fantasy that they already built in their heads, right? And from where I'm sitting, I think that the original poster handled the core issue correctly, even if a few moments along the way could have been smoother, right? Because she consistently centered her comfort, protected her child, and adjusted where she saw room to grow instead of doubling down just to win an argument. And that is exactly the kind of decision making I like to see on Thankful Thursday. Choosing peace over performance and long-term stability over short-term applause. So I want to know what y'all think, okay? Now that you've heard the whole thing, drop honey or stinger in the chat. Tell me whether you would have stayed and cut the cake or walked out the door too. I would have walked out the door, I'm telling you. I'd have walked out. I wouldn't even told them what my child was. Forget it. Walk out. And which part of this story mattered most to you, do you think? Don't go anywhere either, okay? Because I do have a few promos, and I do want to say you guys are amazing, and I absolutely love you. I need you to know I do have memberships back and full monetization and all that stuff. I would love to have you as a member. I just barely got them back, so I haven't really been mentioning it, but I do have 2 members. And yes, I know that seems like a very little, but don't forget I was demonetized for a little while. So I'm working on getting my memberships back. I have 2 beautiful members that I absolutely adore. And that's my Patty friend who you've seen as our newbie ninja warrior in there. I can't wait until she watches this and sees it. So y'all leave a little comment in the comments for Patty friend and say, hey, you rock. All right. Do that for me. Tomorrow we will have yet another new character. And yes, you know what? Come be here. Come be a part of this family. And you might get to be a character in the next B Ninja Bible movie. Anyway, I'm going to get over here with a little VeeBee promo and I'm going to get on out of here. Thank you guys so much for dealing with my time issues. It's been a little while. You know, Texas weather, a little bit of internet issues. I hadn't been feeling really good. But y'all, let me know what you're thinking about the time. I'm going to go back to noon tomorrow if I can. If not, I will be here by 1, 2 at the latest. Anyway, guys, I love you. Y'all take care. I'll see you tomorrow.
I want to take a minute to shout out Tuber Chat. If you're a creator who's tired of surface level advice, and actually wants to understand how YouTube works, that's the space. It's real conversations with real creators who are in the trenches building channels, testing ideas. No posturing, no gatekeeping, no fake guru energy, just people sharing what's working, what isn't, and why. If you're serious about growing, learning, and not doing this alone, check out Tuber Chat. The link is in the description. If you're enjoying this show, subscribing is the easiest way to support what's being built here on BBTV. You'll see the join button right next to subscribe.
No pressure, no expectations, just an option for people who want to support the channel in a real way. We're live weekdays at 12 p.m. Central, and each day has its own focus. Same honesty, same voice, just different conversations depending on the day. And if you've got a story you want to share, send it in. Anonymous is always fine.
Boss be rising.